Hi guys, my apologies for the gap in the videos. Yeah, getting a bit inundated at work. I work in disability, so it's a very busy industry, especially when you're short. So every time there's an extra shift to be done, I put my hand up and hopefully I get it. It's a two-edged sword for me when you think about it. I like making the extra money, but I also love doing what I do, and what it's taught me along the way. I've been in this current job that I have for 5 years, and prior to that, I was working with youth that were homeless, and I did 18 months with that. And that's coming straight from mining. I came to Australia to seek fame and fortune in mining, and I got in. I got into it in 2008. Prior to mining, I did do a little bit of work with youth and in my local church in Rotorua in Aotearoa, New Zealand. And that was a privilege and an honour to be asked to do that. Kids, man, they teach you a lot about yourself and how much you can endure. And when you have your own kids, oh, good grief. It's funny, funny story. You raise your kids hard, but when it comes to their children, you let them get away with murder. You give them treats when they shouldn't be getting treats. You spoil them. But the awesome thing about it is that, my children, they taught me how to be a father. And now my grandchildren are teaching me how to be a grandfather. And I have to be a lot more switched on, you know what I mean? They're very, very inquisitive. They ask a lot of questions. And you got to be honest about what you're going to say, what your response is going to be. You can't be half-hearted about it. Sometimes I joke with my grandchildren, and they know. They look at you like, what? But you have those intimate times with them, But they're learning. They're starting to, work their discernment. So when they're talking in amongst friends and other family members, and they hear people blowing about this and about that, then they'll, roll their eyes and go, well, yeah, sounds like my koro. But yeah, it's been an honour and a privilege to learn from not only my children, but from my grandchildren. But it's a work in progress, man. I was a single father, and it was hard because I didn't know how to be a father. I just did things that I learned as a kid growing up. And those things aren't really applicable for your own children because you realize, oh, heck, that stuff traumatized me when I was a kid. But by that time, it's too late. You've passed it on to them. But anywho, it was a joy to learn and to even learn my failures and my wins as a father. But mostly as a grandfather, you've got to be really, really on your game. Because these young kids, these young babies, they look up to you. And they want you to share your wisdom with them. And I tell you, man, my grandchildren, they are very, very intelligent. They know devices. They know when somebody's, lying. They can enjoy a joke. And they soon, they learn your humor. That's the one thing about my grandchildren. They learn my humor. My ones that are here, the one that I spend a lot more intimate time with. But I've enjoyed being a granddad. I think I've got 7 grandchildren. I've got about 5 that I haven't yet met because I moved to Australia before they were born in 2008. But I'll get there. I'll make my presence known. But anyway, I just sort of thought I'd start my my yarn with a little bit of that trivia. Beautiful day out here. If you don't know, I live in Kalgoorlie, Western Australia, in a desert town. But if you're thinking about a town that you would see in a cowboy movie in the desert, it's nothing like that. Kalgoorlie has everything. Everything palatable that either, it's good for you or bad for you. Whatever your desire is, it's here in Kalgoorlie. And I've grown to love this place. It's my second home from home. And when I travel home, you feel a lot more blessed because there's no more distractions. Back home, when I was back home, man, there was a lot of distractions, eh? And one of them was being impoverished. In Māori, we call it pohara. And you had to do things to make a life easy from everything, because of the work you were doing and the pay you were bringing home. You had to make it work. And what you learn growing up in that kind of environment back home, when you come to a place of opportunity, as we sometimes say back home, we can move on a smell of a rag. And that's in regards to your car with petrol. We can run a car on a smell of a rag. And it's the same principle for life. And when we come to Australia, you'll be amazed at how your resilience kicks in. And when opportunities present themselves, you take note and you try and make the best of the outcome. And I've done that all my working life here. And I don't have 2 coins to rub together, but I'm happy. I still love life. I'm not worried about the finances because once I'm dead, well, can't spend it, eh? And I know they say that we should grow a nest egg for our kids and that, but our kids can look after themselves, and their kids. Our job is to provide for them when they're in school or when they're growing up. But other than that, afterwards, well, go and have a ball with all your money. I love spending on cars and because I love working on cars and I love experimenting on stuff. YouTube, man, is an amazing wealth of knowledge. You can build a house, build a car, build anything if you put your mind to it and you watch them experts do it. Okay, in reality, when rubber meets the tire, it is hard. It's not easy, but they make it look easy, and so in that sense, you have a go at it. And I've done a lot of things watching YouTube, because when I was doing cars, when I first started at the age of 15, I would go into the library and take photocopies of the mechanics of cars, troubleshooting and all that sort of stuff. And every car that I owned from 15 up, I did myself. I actually dragged them home behind another car and got them running to the point where I can pull down an old 6-cylinder car and do a rebuild on it. Not fantastically, but it went. And I used a book, I used a work manual for that. And then I became really, really good at it. But then in 1990, I became a Christian. And I had a real close friend of mine now. Back then we were just, we were just, what do you call it? I can't remember the big ass word for it. But we weren't that intimate. We were just new friends. And, there's this thing in Christianity you learn about gods. There's only one God, and everything else that distracts you, that's your God. Well, I always fixed my cars. And if I had a problem and it got to me, I wouldn't go to church until I got that problem solved. Anyway, one of these bros, he noticed I was, missing church quite a bit. And then he told me, how come you don't come to church, bro? And sometimes then I go, wow, I work on my cars, and it bugs me when I can't figure it out. And then I got to, take time out and not be distracted and figure it out and get it sorted. And he goes, oh, bro, that's a God. And being a new Christian, it sort of tugged at my heart, I was like, what? Because you learn, there's only one God, and anything else is a distraction. I said, man, working on a car is a God. That was my mind, my mentality then. So I was 30. I had spent 15 years working on cars. Old cars. The car that I was working on actually at home was a Valiant Ute. Can't remember the year of it, 72, 73. And it was a Mad Max thing, man. I used to take it to church and used to shake the windows, eh? But I didn't care. It was loud. And it looked like a Mad Max beast, had a big ass bull bar in front of it. Yeah, she was rugged. But I loved it, eh? Anyway, yeah, he said, oh, it's a God, bro. Being distracted like that. Well, like an idiot, I stopped working on cars. That was 1990. I gave it up and got into my learning about God. Right up, no word of a lie, I started to figure it out as I went along, and but I had bought cars that you didn't need to put a wrench to. If it most of them were computerized, the cars that I started buying. So if it broke down, which it very rarely did, the cars I owned very rarely broke down. They were good cars. But if they broke down, you had to take it to a garage because I knew nothing about that stuff, And anyway, I was working at KCGM. I came to Australia in 2008, and I started in the mining at that same year. And I was with a company called KCGM, the Super Pit, for 9 years. And I very rarely worked on anything up until that point when I was made redundant. So I was looking for a business. With my redundancy, I was looking for something that I could do for myself. Because you're here in Australia, you can't go on the dole. And if you did with the kind of money that I got paid at, you wouldn't get paid anyway. So I had to do something. So I sold all my prized possessions. I had at that time, 2015 R8 Club Sport. Had only 99,000 Ks on it. When I sold it, I got that brand spanking new with only 6 Ks on it. And I had a 2015 Pro Street Breakout. So I had to sell those because that was debt. I had to make sure that I was debt free when I got into anything. And I took all my super out to get myself a business. And my business was buying cars and flipping them. And so I got back into mechanics. And what inspired me to do that was a YouTube channel called Bad Chad. Only a young fella. be in his 50s now. But then he was only a young fella. And he was doing things, man, that I used to do. Didn't care. You're not afraid to do whatever to get a car going. He wasn't a good mechanic, but he was a absolute legend on fabricating. So I learned a lot with him. So I started to learn to re-weld again. Started to learn welding and all that sort of stuff. I started to work on cars, and I bought a whole lot of vehicles. In 2018 up into 2019, I think I bought about roughly 9 vehicles to flip. And yeah, when you are too honest when you're working on a car, you buy brand new parts for it. And let's say, for example, you buy I bought a F100 1972 custom, and it was 4-wheel drive. It had a 351 in it, and so I refurbished underneath. I put new rotors on it, new brake pads. I can't remember what else. Oh yeah, and I did a lot of powder coating on. I powder coated the rims, powder coated the bull bar that was on there. And long story short, I must have paid into it about maybe 2-3 grand, and I put it up for 15K. Well, that was in 2019. I wasn't getting the bite, and I had all these other cars too. Anyway, we were living at a property that could, handle that amount of cars, but then we had to downsize, and there wasn't much room for the cars that I had, so I had to flip them. And I ended up selling that F100 for $6,000. And the guy came from Perth, picked it up, and drove it home. And I was devastated, eh? And another car I bought was a Omega Commodore. I think that was a 2010, dual fuel, gas and petrol, beautiful car. And I wanted 7.5 for that. Ended up selling that for $4,000. Reason being, I was at church one day and I heard this Aboriginal guy arguing with his wife. And he was arguing about he doesn't have transport. And I could hear him saying, "Well, buy one." I was sitting there, and then after he finished, I said, "Hey, bro, where are you from?" And he told me where he was from. He was up from the lands, I think from Wiluna, maybe. Wiluna, he was saying, but he lived in Laverton, which is about 3 hours from here, about 300 and something clicks from here. Anyway, I said, "Oh, I got a car," and I showed him it, and then he said to me, "Oh, that's flesh butter." That's flesh. I said to me, "Oh, what can you afford?" So he said, "Not much," but and I said, "Well, what can you afford?" And he said, $4,500. I said, "Sold, bro." He goes, "Oh, I got to get the $500 from this place, blah, blah, blah." Okay, sweet as. So he went away. I went to go get the change of ownership papers. Glad that I helped his brother out. Anyway, I was at home and I thought, "Oh God, I'll ring the guy." So I rang him up and I said, "Look, man, don't worry about that extra 500 you're trying to rake up. Just come and get it. Bring the cash and take the car." Well, he took the car, man. And he was really, really wrapped. And he went home. He went back to Laverton. This guy traveled around a lot for his people, going to, meetings and things like that, land meetings and traditional stuff. So it was good to help the brother out. Anyway, I went up there about 4 months later, and I caught up with him. I think his name was Junior. Yeah, I caught up with him, and I said, "Oh, you still got that car, bro?" And he goes, yeah. Mate, when I went to go and look at it, I said, "What the heck did you do to it?" Oh, there was no cap. Oh yeah, she was a shock. She was dirty. He used it to go up into the outback. And I said, "Man, you need a 4-wheel drive for that." No, good car. And it still went there, and it was still drivable, but it was a total mess from when I sold it to him. But he didn't care. And so yeah, he was really, really funny, eh? And I said, oh well, at least it's still going. And then they were off back up to the lands that day on the car, so they were getting all ready and that. So yeah, but the essence of my story is that I didn't do too well selling cars, because when you're trying to sell them honestly, it's very difficult. You know, you got to tell them the problems, because you know if you don't, it's gonna haunt you, and you don't want your name to be crap out there. You know, oh, you know that fellow Kalgoorlie, yeah, bought a car, yeah, bro, didn't even da 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 da. You know, I didn't want that. I wanted to make sure that whoever bought the car, they bought it a good healthy ride. And today I still do the same thing. I still buy cars and flip them, but not as a business. I do it just because the car's cheap and I can go and get it and then fix it up and flip it off. So, yeah. I just wanted to just share a little content, I think they call it, just to let you know how it is for me in Western Australia since I've been here. I love the place, man. Love Kalgoorlie. I love my job. My family, my son, he came over. He's doing well here. He's a supervisor up at the super pit for a drilling company called Austral. And he works Monday to Fridays. He's quite wrapped with that, so he spends a lot of time with the kids, and he's home every night. Prior to that, he was doing 2 weeks on, 1 week off, you know, night and days. And it was pretty hectic, but now he's doing really, really well. So, you know, those are the opportunities that present themselves if you have the faith to make the move, man. You've got to make the move. You know, you can want whatever you want in life, but faith without works is dead. You got to do something to initiate whatever opportunity will present itself in the future. Remember that, you know. But I'm going to leave it at this right here, because I was going to share something else, but I'll save that for another video. It was going to be a biblical one, but I'll say that for another video. I just sort of wanted to share this part of my journey from 2008 to 2026. And it's been a ride. It has been an awesome ride. There's not one part of my journey that I can say without a doubt has been bad, except the selling of my R8 and my club sport and my breakout. Yeah, that was heartbreaking. But I still got a horse in the stable, and maybe another one on the way. Watch this now. Watch this space. I gone and got another one to put in the stable. Not a Harley Davidson, but it's a motorcycle. It moves. Actually, I got a half-cut motorcycle still waiting for me to address it, to get it running again. I had it running in 2019 and haven't started it since, and haven't worked on it since. And we're going to do some fabrication work to that to get it on the road. So it's custom built. So watch this space. Anyway, till the next time, you be blessed, stay focused, and whatever opportunity presents itself, man, just take it. If it's something that you want to do, good. If it's something that fills the gap for you to step up to what you want, that's good. But don't stay in a job that you don't like, man. It'll just depress you. Before you know it, you'll be running down the town, and it's got nothing to do with the town. True story, man. People I heard moan about Kalgoorlie, what a shit town this is, and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And they take that shittiness with them when they move to the next place. Then you see them posting, oh, what a shithole. Unbelievable. Yeah, you got to make the change, man. If you don't make the change, that shittiness will just follow you wherever you go. Yeah. Anyway, God bless y'all. catch up.